bring more attention to the focal points on your cards by adding geometric patterns to the backgrounds. I'll show you a variety of techniques in today's video. This video is part of an all-to-new blog hop, so be sure to follow the link down below and like and subscribe while you're there. So I'm going to start off with the Fairy Tale Rose stamp set along with the Tall Tale bookmark die. Now this bookmark is huge. It's definitely more of a hardback book size, but you could easily trim it down with a corner rounder and make it shorter for smaller books if you like. So I'm going to stamp the Fairy Tale Rose in Obsidian pigment ink. This is my go-to ink because it gets really fine details and you typically only have to stamp it once. I've cut the bookmark die out of Savoy 100% cotton letterpress paper. I wanted it to have just a touch of texture and not be totally smooth because I knew I wanted to do some pencil shading on this image and on the washi tape that I was going to be adding to it. This image is super easy to layer stamp. There's only 3 layers of color that needed to be added, and for the first one I'm going to use Chamomile Crisp Dye ink. And I will stamp this more than once because this paper has a texture to it. It needs to be stamped a couple times. For the detail layer of the rose, I'm going to use Canyon Clay. I did stamp it once already with Pastel Sunrise. That wasn't quite dark enough, but I wanted to have kind of that look and feel of a yellow rose with a touch of pink to it. And I love how this turned out. I love the warm colors of this. For the leaves, I decided to go with dusk. Now, ordinarily, I would use green for my leaves, but I wanted to use dusk specifically because I'm going to be using the Cool Summer Night slim washi tapes with this for my background. This stamp had just a little bit of leftover photopolymer from the manufacturing process, so I just wiped that off so that it would stamp cleanly. So I'll just go ahead and stamp this and you'll see that it will need to be stamped more than once also. Okay, so what I saw for this bookmark was using these slim washi tapes. This is the Cool Summer Night slim washi tape set, and kind of having the ribbons or washi tape crisscrossing across them, almost like a maypole design. That really spoke to me for the fairy tale theme of this release, and I thought it would be a fun background since we have so much real estate on this tall bookmark die. So I'm going to start off at the bottom, which is perfect because my stamp didn't go all the way down to the bottom of the bookmark die. So I've just covered up the bottom of the stem with a piece of the darkest washi tape. And then I'll work my way up with the colors. I'm just going to wrap the tape around to the back, and then to finish off this bookmark when I'm done, I'll just die cut another one of these bookmarks and glue that to the back to make sure that the washi tape stays nice and stuck down. You could even pick a different color if you wanted a different color cardstock for the back, maybe yellow, to add a little bit more interest. I added a few more pieces of tape, making sure that all 4 colors in this washi tape set were represented. And then I also added, I'm going to add even more than this, a few more pieces of tape that cover the rose. Now I'm just using a craft knife to gently cut out pieces of the tape so that I can expose the rose. And you want to make sure that you use a sharp craft knife, and what I recommend is cutting on the black line of your image. That way you don't have a white gap on the outside of your tape. You want to make sure that your tape goes all the way up to that black line, so cutting directly on the black line is what worked best for me. This is a pretty easy technique. I know it looks kind of fiddly. You just need to go ahead and press hard. I was being kind of ginger about it at the beginning, but you can press pretty hard and it's not going to cut through your cardstock. So once I had all those pieces cut out, I grabbed a number 2 pencil and my tortillon, and I just wanted to add a drop shadow not only to the rose, but also to the washi tape. That's going to help bring those elements forward. Now, if you didn't want to do your shading with a pencil and a tortillon, you could also do it with a light gray artist marker. That would work as well to add your drop shadow, or you could forego the drop shadow, but I think it adds a lot more dimension to this piece. Takes it from a 1-layer piece and gives it that added dimension, like these are more like die cuts. So I love how this turned out. I love how the washi tape has added so much interest to the background. It gives a very graphic feel to the card, but also gives that kind of fairy tale element like the ribbons from a maypole. So I really enjoyed how this turned out. Next up, I'm going to be using the Whimsical herringbone stamp set. So this is a background stamp set, so it can completely cover a card front for you. And I'm going to stamp this in pure graphite dye ink. So this isn't necessarily a Copic Safe ink, but I use dye inks all the time when I'm using my alcohol markers. I find that they don't smear, and I have better results with them than I do with quote-unquote alcohol marker safe inks. Those tend to smear on me. I don't usually wait long enough for them to dry, either that or I have to heat set them. And so I typically will stamp with a dye ink instead. So I've left this in my MISTI so that I can stamp it again at the end with the pigment ink. Now I'm just using the new artist marker set. So this is set F and set G. And those are also called, what are they called? Sunshine Valley Garden Set and Winter Garden Set. So I've just pulled out 2 pinks, 2 greens, and 2 teal colors. And I'm just randomly filling in some of these herringbone patterns. I want to leave a lot of white space on here, but I also want it to have kind of a fun and whimsical kind of feel with major pops of color. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to ink this up again with my obsidian ink. And I left my card in the MISTI for the coloring because I didn't think I would be able to tape it in exactly the same place. It's not like I can snug it into the corner like you normally would do. So I just went ahead and colored with it still in the MISTI. I'll stamp this down and you'll see a huge difference between the pure graphite ink and then the pigment ink. There's just no replacement for the obsidian pigment ink. It's so super dark and I just love it. So here we go, the big reveal. Pigment inks are a little bit sticky, so you can see that the card front stuck to it. And look how much nicer that is. So initially I was thinking I would put the book engraving flowers on this. So I went ahead and stamped some of those up. But I decided it was so busy I needed to stick to just a simple sentiment. So I have the bold thanks die here, and I've just cut out a strip of cardstock. This is Epic Black 165 pound. I love it. It's super thick, so for any kind of sentiment die cuts that are black, this is what I use. And I'm just going to back that with a piece of white cardstock. You can see this is just a scrap. And that way it's much more readable. You could see when I put it on the background, you really couldn't read much at all. Now I do need to replace the center of the A there, so I still have that in the A. I'm going to go ahead and put just a touch of glue on just the center of the A only. I'll place the A back into the die cut and then I'll just press it down with my craft pick, and that way I can get the little A right in the exact place that it needs to be. I'll go ahead and glue this onto the card front and then I'll trim off the excess with some scissors. If you're getting value out of this video, please be sure to like and subscribe down below and make sure that you comment on our blog post along the hop so that you're in for a chance to win a gift card to Altenew. Here's the finished card, and I love how it turned out with the negative sentiment strip. I just love the look of that with the dark black on all of that pop of color. So for my other die cuts that I had made thinking I was going to use them with the last card, of course I'm not going to let those go to waste. I've picked out the lightest color from the Cool Summer Night Slim washi tape. And then I've also added a piece of delicate stripes washi tape. This I think is my favorite Altenew washi tape. This is my second favorite, although it's kind of a toss-up between which one is my favorite. They're both up there. And I'm just going to tear off a little bit of this because I felt like that was a little too thick for the card. I also wanted to leave space for my sentiment. I layer stamped these flowers off camera, and this is from the book engraving set, and I stamped them with the Cherry Blossom Crisp Dye ink set. It only needs 2 colors to stamp them, and I just went ahead and left the leaves white for a clean and simple look. I love the limited color palette here, especially with the black and white stripes and dots. I think this adds such a huge impact to the background and is a great way to create a really simple, striking background. For the last card, we'll be doing some more artist marker coloring. Here's Fairy Tale Florals. This is a great stamp set because the floral images are already arranged for you. I'm I'm going to go ahead and stamp this in the pure graphite ink. I'll color it, and then I'm going to leave this in my MISTI just like last time so that I can stamp it again with the obsidian pigment ink. And I'll show you why when I'm done. So you're going to see that this ink looks nice and dark right now. By the time I'm done coloring though, it's going to get lighter. I'm sure that's because you're not supposed to use the dye inks with your artist markers or your alcohol markers. They don't stand up as well, but again, they don't smear for me, so that's more important to me. I'm doing some really simple coloring here, and these are the, what family is this? This is the Pocket Full of Sunshine family, and this is from one of the new artist marker sets, the Sunshine Valley Garden set. And if you missed one of my last videos, I'll make sure to link it in the top right hand corner. I share 10 tips in 10 minutes for Copic and artist marker coloring, so be sure to check that out if you want some tips on how to be more effective with your coloring. This is the only flower that I have on film, again, because I've got that other video that was so recent, so be sure to check that out. But I did the same coloring for the leaves, only I used the green markers that are from that same set, and those are the Green Meadow markers. Once I have this all colored up, I'm going to add some more washi tape to create that graphic background. I didn't show that because I already showed that already. So basically I added the stripes of washi tape and then I trimmed them with the craft knife again. So here you can see that the dye ink is really faded out by the alcohol markers, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp it with the obsidian pigment ink, and you're going to see such a huge difference that's going to make. It's just, to me, I get a much richer black this way than with doing the alcohol marker safe black ink. I did use a little bit of a teal marker on the tips of the leaves just so that my Cool Summer Nights washi tape would blend in with this card and things would look a little more cohesive. And I also used a little bit of yellow and green on the buds that you see there. This is also from the same stamp set, so I'm going to stamp You Are Awesome, and that is from the Fairy Tale Florals stamp set. It has some great sentiments in this set. And then after I'm done stamping this, I'll use a white Posca pen, the 0.7mm Posca pen, to add little white dots to the stamens just to help the centers of these flowers pop, and you can see that here. I love the seamless look of this card with the washi tape looking like it disappears behind the flowers on this one layer card. Here are the finished cards, which showcase a variety of different ways that you can add geometric patterns to your backgrounds. This can really help the eye focus in on your florals or other focal elements. I hope you guys enjoyed these techniques today. If you did, like and subscribe down below. Leave me a comment, and thanks so much for joining me today. I'll see you soon with more inspiration.